This episode was scheduled for the latter end of October, but was postponed as the Hoops and Dreams team delved into the sacking of Gareth Ainsworth and the appointment of Marty Cifuentes. Luckily, still with us and still hanging on after all that time for our Hoops and Dreams QPR podcast is Matthew. We're very much a warm welcome again to you, Matthew.
Thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure.
As usual, we'll go quickly over the last few games before looking forward to the up-and-coming games and then focusing far more on the few topics we've got. And they will certainly include the name Marty Cifuentes. So on we go. Quick review of the last 5 matches. And for those of you who can't remember, here they are quickly. Huddersfield versus QPR. West Bromwich versus QPR. QPR versus Leicester. And then the home game, the away game against Rotherham, and the home game at Bristol City against Bristol City at home on Saturday, Remembrance Day. We got 2 points out of a possible 15 for these. We ended up exactly as we started the day on 23rd, but we got 10 points. In the Hoops and Dreams Prediction League, I went for a 0-0 result in the Huddersfield match. This was based upon the low-scoring strikers. It was only afterwards I found out that Darren Moore has never lost to a London side at home. Poor defending by Kakai led to the first goal, and whilst the second Huddersfield goal was a well-worked goal, the team didn't roll over. I mean, that was the positive. Instead, we fought for every ball, and it was no surprise that Clark Salter's header from a corner happened. But it was a surprise that was his first goal for the R's. The game against the Magpies. Oh God, wish it was the Magpies against the Baggies was tough, but it was still an equal first half of defending. So we've started to see a trend here. QPR was improving. The defending was getting better. Sadly, in the second half, we conceded poorly and then had the normally calm Richard Dunn lose his head to get sent off. And Jack Colback was probably lucky he didn't join in as well. However, the big issue was the lack of shots on target and any goals. And that was despite Ainsworth throwing on attacking players. Then we moved on to Leicester. Leicester were knocking at the door of Loftus Road, and everyone expected Halloween to come early for them. Instead, we saw a spirited, well-constructed defence against the runaway league leaders. And let's face it, they are going to come out top. We all know that. And we were left pondering on what might have been as Dozell got his second yellow and he was sent off. With 30 minutes going, we were left with 10 men. Our shots and on and off target were similar to theirs. Everything was the same, but we lost. It was a lost opportunity with yet another hot-headed player and Gareth's last game in charge. So looking back on those 3 matches, Matthew, that's how Gareth Ainsworth's reign ended. They were an improvement, but there were still losses that could have been draws and perhaps even a win if we had been able to score more often. Do you think if they had have been wins or had have been draws that Ainsworth would have survived?
I'm not sure. I think the fan base already made their mind up, I think, after the Blackburn game where we got, played off the park by Blackburn, who were, I think, struggling at the time. And the fact that we lost that game 4-0 before the international break, most fans were sort of pulling for his head. And they didn't really expect him to manage these last 3 games, as you said. They were slight results, but the performance overall, I think if you, I know we're going to touch on Marty, but if you compare his style of play to Ainsworth's, there's a whole difference, and you can see it never suited the players at all. The West Brom game springs to mind where from the get-go we sat back. We gave him far too much respect, in my opinion. West Brom wasn't in good form at the time as well, and it was almost waiting for the inevitable, really. And the theme of the last those results is just a lack of discipline. Most of those red cards were stupidity. Yeah, that's easy to say. Um, and yeah, just there was no there was no sort of team spirit. There was no sort of every time you could see the goal, there was heads were down, and
Do you think they were trying too hard?
I think they were trying, but they at the same time they didn't know what to do. In sort of
Could be right.
like it's I think back to those games, we didn't get in the final third as much. I think the most time we attacked was probably the Huddersfield game where we pushed on in the second half. We were close to getting the equaliser, but I thought overall we didn't deserve to win the game. The West Brom game we didn't really get in our half, especially in the first half. Um, Leicester game was better. I thought we didn't respect them too much. I thought we're not good just to sit back. We just have to try and press from the front, try and win the ball back high, and see what we can do. But Leicester are just quality side. I think as soon as we went down to 10 men, um, we were just sort of waiting for that goal really, um, to kill the game off. And towards the end, they were just passing it around with their quality players they have. And in the end, it was sort of inevitable really that a change had to happen in the end. So yeah, overall the correct decision.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think it was decided long ago. The fact the board was so quiet to me was spoke volumes. The silence. Anyway, so then it was on to a new month, new coach, and a 6-pointer supposedly against Rotherham. Willock started up alongside Chair, which was was obviously of interest to all of us. And Dixon Bonner came back in to replace the suspended Colback. So this was a performance, I think, from that team that reminded me of the very first games that they had under Mark Warburton, where players were trying to maintain possession and remember what their new coach had told them that he wanted. Chair certainly remembered how to score goals, though, because it was his first goal of the season, but what a goal. Sadly, following an ill-judged header, though, by Taylor Richards, who came on as a sub, they eventually led to Rotherham getting that equaliser and the draw that we ended up with, which was a real shame. Anyway, that brings us on to our first home game under Marty Cifuentes, QPR against Bristol City, which both of us attended, I know. Ilias Chair was suspended. This is getting to be a trend, isn't it? And Colback was replaced by and Jack Colback came in to replace the impressive Dixon Bonner. Rather cruel for him, but there we go. Despite being a lively and entertaining match, the result was a no-score draw. Whilst we dominated the play, it was the usual predicaments. Some hairy defending and ineffective action in front of goal. Before we move on to ask Matthew for his thoughts, I'd like to say a couple of things. Firstly, Kakai played well. There, I said it. I've been a huge critic of his in the past, but I was impressed. Could have been man of the match for us. A long-standing supporter who always comes into Block E up to the road, the last but one row, just as the whistle goes, usually with these chips and a coffee turned up as usual on Saturday. The coffee cup's top popped open, and he was left struggling there with that as the players came out and gathered around the armed services and the bugler. I ended up taking the chips off him, and so he gave me the coffee as well. So I'm now standing there with chips in one hand, coffee in the other, as the 2-minute silence goes ahead. How I ended up like that, I do not know. I was trying to only help him out. But anyway, a shout out to Tony Pierce, who also watches the podcast and told me how much he enjoys them. I guess that's some recompense. Do you think the remembrance ceremony went well, Matthew?
Yeah, it's a majority. Yeah. It's always quite emotional when the Booger goes around the stadium, and respect to both fans for playing their part. It's always a time of year where we try and pay our respect as much as we can. And if you compare it to the world we live in now, it's not peaceful as it is. So
Quite right.
to all the local tragedies that we have in this country, we always try and play our part as much as we can and pay our respects. So it was really good. Really, really good.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of confusion when the referee blew his whistle, but I think that was largely because nobody could hear what the PA system was saying. Poor old Paul Morrissey was talking away and nobody understood what he was saying.
Yeah.
Well, certainly not where I was anyway. And I know it's difficult to do this after 2 games, but you volunteered to come on here. We're seeing, I think, green shoots on the downhill sloping pitch that leads to safety and winning. Do you think, Matthew?
Yes. There's definitely positives in the way we play. There's definitely flashes of what this team can do, but I think they've realised that we can get the ball down and play. In transition, in interchange with players, and the players just didn't realise that under Ainsworth. I think Ainsworth was so mindful of let's try and sit back, and just
go for a break.
Go for a break and then see what we can do with our attacking players. But this sort of style of play, it's showing no respect to the opposition. It's winning the ball back high. It's attacking the numbers, and being a threat. Unfortunately, in the last couple of games, we haven't had that finishing touch, especially in the final third. That's probably something to look to in January, possibly. But overall, I think, after the Bristol City game, most of the crowd applauded the team. I thought the efforts all over the pitch were fantastic. Like you said, Kakai had a really good game. It was down that right-hand side with Kakai and Paul Smith. I thought they absolutely went roasted down that side. The number 3 for Bristol City didn't know what to do. Really. And, he didn't know what to do. He had a yellow card in the second half, and he didn't go nowhere near Paul Smith for the rest of the game. And I'm glad that we kept attacking that side. It's just when we had the ball in the box, we never had the numbers. Dykes was most of the time the only one in the box. So hopefully that will improve in games to come. I'm sure it will. If we're attacking numbers, then I'm sure the players will have the urge to get in the box as well and try and finish off those chances. But
I think you picked on a good point there. There weren't enough players in the box, and I think thinking about this, just off the top of my head, players like Willock and Chair, they're the ones that need to be suddenly pushing forward, and perhaps Dazelle, if he's there, to be on the edge of the box and ready to come in. Willock was never that close. I thought that unless he was dribbling into that box, he was never that close.
I think the key. I'll be interested to see what Cifuentes does with Willock. Will it be that Willock was sort of Bill's man to take the ball from deep and then take us forward? It'll be interesting to see if he does the same thing. I saw flashes of that in the Bristol City game, and under Warburton and Bill, we've seen a link-up play between Willock and Chair, especially down that left-hand side. We know they can do that. If we can bring that back, then that'll make us more of a threat. Definitely make us more of a threat. So, overall, I was quite. It was probably the best atmosphere I've witnessed in quite some time. I thought the crowd really got into it. In the second half, we had a sort of 10-15 minute spell where we were really on top, and I thought, I was like, come on, Lofton, try and suck it in. I was sort of looking up to the gods that please get us that win. It's been so long. But overall, I thought we were just unlucky. It's quite crazy. I saw the stats at the end, and we had no shots on target.
No,
it didn't feel like that in the game.
It never felt like that. It felt much closer, didn't it?
Yeah, we just didn't have that luck in the end. When you're down there, you don't have the luck. But hopefully, in the results to come, we'll as long as we keep attacking the numbers, then I'm sure we'll try and get that luck.
Yeah, I think Isosceles would have been very happy with the triangles that QPR were producing in that 10 minutes that you were on about. They're really class stuff.
Yeah.
It's a shame that nothing else came out of it. Anyway, right, let's move on to our next 3 fixtures, which are going to appear after the international break. And so we're after predictions from you, if I may, Matthew. First one is Norwich against QPR. That's on Saturday, the 24th of November. Amazingly enough, they're sitting 16th on 20 points. Not exactly their season so far. So win, draw or loss, Matthew?
I've gone for a draw. It's not been our favourite ground. I think the last time we won there, I think it was 2008. I think it was. So in recent times, it hasn't been our best ground. But Norwich have been unlike Norwich in recent years.
Mm.
I thought they'll do pretty well under David Wagner, but in their previous home game, I think they lost 3-1. I think it was.
Yeah.
So they're really, really struggling. And they're on a run where I think they haven't lost in a couple of games. One of the couple of games, so they're really struggling. So I think this is a decent opportunity for us to show what we can do away from home. If we can play anything like against Rotherham, especially in the second half, where we just couldn't get that second goal. But if we're as bright as we were against Rotherham, then I don't see why not. We can get something out of this game. Just take advantage of Norwich's poor form.
Yeah.
And try
And
and
we
be
are
on the
better
front
away
foot.
from home.
Yeah, this season so far. Yeah. I think anything away from Loftus Road, we're doing better at the moment. So yeah.
Okay, the next one is QPR against Stoke. It's a midweek one. Stoke are 14th, so we're creeping up the table slightly. Win, draw, loss?
I've gone for a win.
Very
Yeah. But it'll be a win where it's probably going to be scrappy.
okay.
Yeah,
Probably.
against Stoke, it's never been really a high scoring game between us two.
Lots of head
And
tennis.
yeah, lots of head tennis. It's going to be a very physical game as well. I can see that happening. Stoke started the season really well, but they've dropped off in recent weeks. But I just see, at the moment, I'm just seeing the team's confidence building and building. And again, I want to see that home win, and surely our luck will turn at some point. It's got to.
Okay. Next one, last one, is Preston North End against QPR. So it's an away match. It's on the Friday, the 1st of December, because Sky demanded. Win, draw, loss?
I've gone for a loss on this one. Yeah. First of all, we're on Sky. It's never a good thing. Second of all, it's on a Friday. That's never a good thing. So, and it's at Preston where we haven't won in quite a while as well. So there's things against us. I see it being a tight game. Again, Preston have started really well. They were top after the first sort of 7 games. But they're still in the playoffs at the moment. But they still got a few decent players in there. They won at Blackburn on the Friday. So they're still a decent team in their day. I think it'll just be a bit difficult for us.
I think this prediction business is quite hard. I really don't know what to expect from these 3 fixtures. On the one hand, we're improving the way we play, but equally, each one of them is showing a positive progression, but not showing an end result. Norwich are 16th, as I said, so they are probably our best opponents to get a result against. So I think I have gone for a win on that one. Both Stoke and Preston are higher up the table, being 14th and 15th respectively. QPR did show more confidence and did impress me on Saturday, but is it enough to get over the mistakes that they're making? Whatever. We're hardly scoring freely, so I'm going to go for a draw away at Norwich, a draw at home to Stoke, and a loss away at Preston. God, sounds so negative, but this is what I feel.
Yeah. Stoke is realistic as a draw. I'm just going for a win, probably heart over head, really. I just want to see our luck change in the next coming weeks, and but a draw won't surprise me.
Let's hope you're right on this, Matthew. I really do hope so. I'd love to be proved wrong again. I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast we were going to be discussing some topics, so let's get over to those because we've only got a limited amount of time. And first one is, since the arrival of Marty Suifantis, we've seen greater emphasis upon possession rather than hoping just for a breakaway and scoring. How easy do you think this transition has been, Matthew? Or is?
I don't think it's been difficult, to be honest. Majority of the squads has got used to, the way Warburton wants to play, Bill wants to play, and now Cifuentes has come in. He's sort of, I don't think he's had to do much, to be honest.
That's good.
Yeah, I think, if you see the Rotherham game, I know he had 2-3 days to prepare for the game, but already you can see a massive improvement in the way we play.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, they've realised that they can get the ball down and play. And I think it suits so many players like Kenneth Powell, Vidic Chair, Chris Willock. I think many people were surprised that was back in the starting lineup against Rotherham, but I wasn't too surprised because I could see Willock as being his sort of player. And like I mentioned, he could be a sort of build player where he can be the main man in attack and then the other attacking players join in.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I don't think it's been too difficult in my opinion.
Do you? I mean, I think we've got to add Dixon Bonner as well as one of those ball players, and Jack Colback. And maybe even in defence. If you look at the defence, they're actually not that bad on the ball either. Apart from Begovic, I every time Begovic goes to get the ball, I get nervous for some reason. I don't know why. But fair credit on Saturday. I don't think one ball that he cleared went out unless he actually meant it to go out. Just to get it away from the goal area. So he did okay. Which players do you think will struggle a bit with the transition to possession based? Do you think, other than Begovic, I mean, how about Marcus Fox? Do you think he will be okay? Sinclair?
If you look back on his, Sinclair maybe, but if anything, Sinclair was a winger as well in his career, so maybe being a left winger sort of thing might suit the way he plays. He's full of pace. He can get through bodies. He as he showed on Saturday once again. Like you mentioned, Begovic, he hasn't been in clubs where they've predominantly played out the back. Fox, if you look at his career as well, he hasn't played for clubs that can have that sort of attractive style of play. Sheffield Wednesday didn't really have that previously, so that would be a question for him. Our midfielders, I think they can be quite suited to it. I think Jack Colback has that experience of playing the ball quick.
Yeah, he wants to.
DeSale was used to it under, like I said, Warburton and Bill. Dixon Bonner, he's impressed me every time he's featured, to be honest. He's come as a sub. I thought we should play him more often, but Ainsworth wasn't doing that. And then the fact he gave him a good start against Rotherham, I thought, wow, we got a little player here. So hopefully we're seeing more of him in the next coming weeks. But I think the majority of the squad will be well suited to it. Maybe Dykes might be one that could struggle.
Although his hold-up play is much better than Sinclair, so maybe that will compensate. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I can just see us very quick in attack with our Chairs, our Willocks, our Smiths, maybe Teddy Richards as well in the future. We'll see what happens with him. But I can see us very quick in attack, attacking the numbers, and Dykes might be the one that I can point to in attack where, maybe just stay in the box and then just wait for a cross. I don't know.
Which have got to come one day. I mean, from my perspective, to come in midway through the first half of the season and make significant changes to the style of play that we've done, I mean, it's a tremendous challenge. First of all, the players and the coaches need to understand what is required of them, and then they have to buy into it, of course. And then the players need to deliver, and knowing that their start has been poor, so their confidence isn't as good as it should be, perhaps. But needing to continue working as a team to score more goals. So they've done everything, I think, as you say, I think it's been really good what they've achieved up to now. The one thing they're not doing is scoring goals. And the style of play will definitely suit people like Chair, Willock and Colback for sure. what will be interesting for us to find out is what impact the current playing has had on the strikers and what the new style of play will have on the strikers. By that I mean Dykes and Armstrong. Will they change the timing and movement of their runs? Will they work harder off the ball to draw defenders away so others can exploit the gaps? I guess time will tell. We can only guess at this stage. We all know that scoring goals has been at the root of our problems. But how do you think the new head coach, because we must call him that really, will change our fortunes, Matthew? How will he get them to score better? Other than new striker in January.
Yeah. Other than that, I think, like I said, I think our style of play gives us the chance to create loads and loads of chances. Gives us attacking players more of a chance to have that urge to get in the box and try and finish his chances off. We know for a fact Ilias Chair always tries to find that bit of space. If it's 20, 25 yards out, like he did against Rotherham, he'll have a go. Willock at times, I think sometimes he has to shoot a bit more. I think since his injury, he's been quite safe at times. I thought he was better on Saturday, but he just didn't shoot often. I thought when he cut inside, in the second half especially, he didn't. I thought shoot, but he didn't really want to do it.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
So maybe I think we just got to shoot more often in the attacking third. Paul Smith had a chance in the second half where he could have shot, but he shot too late. He got blocked for a corner. And with Dykes, sometimes he just doses sometimes in the box for me. He doesn't seem to be in the right area for the cross. He's got to improve that.
Yeah. He's too static, I think.
He is, and it's really strange. As with Scotland, he seems to be in the right place at the right time, but with QPR, it's just I don't know. It might be a lack of confidence. It might be just might be the championship. Yeah, different style. Might be the sort of championship record that's sort of hanging over his head. Because he seems to score and then goes a few months without scoring. So it might be playing on his mind. We don't know. I definitely see him as a confidence player for sure.
I think they all are, to be honest. When it comes to they need confidence. They need goals in their pockets, and then they'll score more goals. That's the impression I always get.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I've always stated that the key issue is failing to score enough goals. It's so simple to state, but not so simple to remedy. Marty Cifuentes wants to set up the team so that they dictate when they are in position, when they will attack. The emphasis in his past appointments seems to be that of using overlapping backs and players and finding space between the lines of defenders. I think what he calls pockets or something. It has worked for him in the past, and we do have players capable of delivering that sort of play. But there needs to be a far greater emphasis upon link-up play, one-touch passing, which is basically what we were saying with Willock. He's trying to take too many passes, I think, too many touches. And the quicker you're making your passes, the less time the other team has got to get back into formation. Players should be willing to shoot at every opportunity, which is what you were saying. I totally agree with that. That in itself will cause opponents to worry more and possibly even create more opportunities if you're doing this. However, the biggest area that could and must be improved is that of dead balls. We really are dire when it comes to dead balls, absolutely dire. Somehow that needs to be sorted out, and we need to work a lot harder on that. I don't know which coach is dealing with this, but they need to get on this fast, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, last topic we're going to cover. We've seen precious little of Taylor Richards since August. He didn't even appear in the first team squad photo, which is really weird. And there was talk of him facing mental health issues. But now he's played in a few games, so hopefully this is all behind him. Do you think that we'll finally see the player we hoped that we were signing, Matthew?
It's a possibility. It is a possibility. He has been bright in the last couple of games. In the cameos that he's done. I I know that he was sort of part of the equaliser against Rotherham, but I think his attacking play, I think he has the ability of beating 2-3 players with his pace. He just needs more quality in the final third.
Yeah.
And with his sort of laid back approach, people will criticise him for his sort of laid back approach and trying to be, I don't know, you don't see him as a pressing sort of player, and he's got to do that under Marty, because we was doing that throughout 90 minutes on Saturday, and when he came on, there were times where he stopped his run, he wouldn't press. He was fresh, and we were like, "Come on, press! Like, do what Sinclair's doing, do what Chris was doing." But he wasn't really doing that, so he's got to impress the quality and just pressing in general, just working hard for the team a bit more.
In that respect, do you think he's a bit like Eze? I mean, Eze, because he was such a talented player, he felt that perhaps he didn't need to come back and defend quite as seriously as he should have done. And you think to yourselves, of the players who get silly fouls against them, they're players like that. They're players like Richards, players like Willock, who really don't want to do the defending, but they do it, and they do it badly, and they end up with yellow cards or whatever against them, or fouls. Maybe Taylor Richards exactly the same,
Eze is the goal
He
for
is.
his
You're
long-term
right.
future.
He's the benchmark. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be the sort of next one we look up to as because we in general we paid a lot of money for him, really, and it hasn't, again, it's another situation where he's had so many managers in a short space of time, and he must be discombobulated by how it's all happened and what style of play he's getting used to. I know for a fact that he didn't. I know for a fact that he didn't really put his heart into Ainsworth's style of play.
No.
I think especially Willock as well. I think he can be included in that situation where he sort of, we can see in his body language, he's sort of down tools a bit where, I don't know what to do here. But with Cifuentes' style of play, I can definitely see that he's sort of, I guess, feeling himself more and just taking a bit more risk. And hopefully Taylor does the same. He needs to show it, otherwise, Marty looks like a very relentless manager, a ruthless manager, with his mentality and the way he goes about things. So he's got to do that, otherwise he might be at the door very, very soon.
It could be a good time for Taylor Richards, this change of manager. It could be just the right time as he's coming back into it and hopefully getting match fit. I mean, we don't know what's gone on in the background. We only know that Taylor Richards has not featured recently. QPR's got a really good, deserved reputation, I feel, as a caring club. And we as fans need to be aware that not all injuries are obvious. If there was a case of mental health problem, then all we can hope is that Taylor Richards has been getting the best help available and is through his problems now. I really want him to become as good as Chair in terms of his attacking midfield role. Suspension and injury will certainly mean we'll need him the way things are going at the moment. We're certainly getting through our suspensions already. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, have we got time? Let's have a look. Just about got time, I think, for this. A quick one for you, if I may. Loftus Road was renamed the Martrade Loftus Road. Bit of a mouthful. Whilst this means extra income, is it good to have your stadium renamed and lose some of its identity, or do you really think it matters, Matthew?
I'm not too fussed of it, to be honest. I'm not too fussed. Yeah, just in the current climate we're in, especially with FFP, I think we've still got a few more years of that left to come. I think as fans, we welcome more income and see if it will change the club as a whole. What was interesting, the fact that as soon as Ainsworth was sacked, all these deals happened basically in a week. We signed with a coffee company. We done the May trade. Amit had a new stand after him. So it was a whole sort of change, really. I get a percentage of that income was towards Ainsworth sacking, so we could afford to pay off his contract. But hopefully in the years to come, hopefully it will just help the club in general, financially, because I think we'll definitely need it
Yeah.
in the future for sure.
Yeah,
So I don't mind it.
no, I got an early warning from the club about it, and I then had to check to make sure that Martrade wasn't yet another betting company. I'm so pleased it wasn't.
Yeah,
Knowing it's a Malaysian company, immediately you sort of thought, oh, I know what's going on here. But keeping Loftus Road in the title, great. That's really good. That's it. Doesn't matter beyond that to me. I think that's fine.
yeah.
Quite honestly, if we named every stand and got millions from that, I would be quite happy with that as well.
Yeah, like you said, I'll be happy if it was called something like the Betfred.com stadium, or like similar to Stoke, the Bet365 stadium. I'll be, I know we're trying to get gambling out of football, but it doesn't help naming stadiums after it.
Nope.
That'll be a massive, massive meltdown in the fan base. But yeah, I'm glad that we didn't go for that down that road.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, well, all too soon, our time is up. So all that remains is for me to thank yet again my guest, Matthew, for joining me on this podcast. Thanks again. My editor, Dave, who without this, it would never look as slick as it does, and it's pretty good what he does. And of course, all of you for watching. Do keep the faith and do click on subscribe if you're watching this on our YouTube channel. And do add a comment or two below. As you probably noticed, we do actually come back to people and talk to them about their comments. I'm Brian Fisher, and this has been a Hoops and Dreams QPR podcast. Come on, you R's.
Yours.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.